5 minutes into my singing practice, and Dad is back in the garden. Dad is back in the house after his nap in the garden. "I came to see if you were well," he said. "Well?" I said. "Yes, you saw me 5 minutes ago." He said, "Well, you didn't sound well a minute ago, making the noise I would expect a dying crow to make." One of the noted possible side effects of his new medication, dexamethasone, is a change in hormone levels, which in men creates a similar effect to the one puberty has on teens. Mood swings, argumentativeness, increase in appetite, and sometimes acne. His face is gladly acne-free, but at dinner today, he stole 3 pieces of meat off my plate, and during coffee, after my mother told him, "I'm not sure, Robin, the idea of you building a greenhouse, being so unsteady on your feet, is such a good one. Wouldn't it be better to take up the guitar again, like you said you might?" He replied, "There is always an argument against everything. I've always tried to fight the fear that I might one day turn out like my father and everything I didn't want to be. Today, though, it seems he may be more likely to turn into me."
The beginning of a relationship when everything's lovely and you're learning all these things about someone, all these new little things, and it's ultimately horrible and absolutely terrifying. So this is that. It's called Cecilia. It is the 7th of September and I have known you for 2 weeks, 6 days, 4 hours and 39 minutes approximately. And I have learned that you really like tomatoes. You've been eating them every day, squeezing for ripeness, then slicing them lovingly, naked and raw and sweet on the plate. You like to submit the gritty wetness of a tomato to the smooth plane of a cracker, break them over the ridges of your tongue. Yesterday, you put your bikini in my laundry basket, and I wondered if the water in the washing machine can tell the difference between sweat and sea salt, and if there is one, and what about the difference between knowing something is going to end and just being scared that it will? Today, your tomatoes are cut thickly. Salt crystals are soaking into the oil and disappearing like April snow on bare skin, and I am so here that it hurts. And the day is so still, and nothing is stirring against the sun-illuminated air but your tomato-covered hands dripping warmth onto the cool tiles, and you are a fucking oil painting in the Louvre, and I am a tourist with a giant iPad. No crossing that line. No loitering, no lingering too long to look at how the window has laid a patchwork temple of light across your shoulders. And Simon and Garfunkel are playing over and over in my head, singing about making love in the afternoon. And maybe if I try hard enough, I can turn it off before we get to the line about someone taking my place. And you break in my heart, and you break in my heart, and you break in my heart. Our wonderful friend Robbie lost a battle with mental illness, and we love him very much. This is for you, who is carrying that wide open crying tear in your heart, that bowling ball-sized hole in your stomach, that tightness in your throat and your fists. This is for you, who is asking, how can absence be so heavy? First, I will tell you of an old Japanese story of the invisible red strings tied between us and the ones we love, which lead us back to them over and over. Second, I will remind you to hold the letters you wrote between your hands, to lay your cheek on the envelope, put your face close enough to the words that they turn into rivers on the paper, like capillaries on skin, like love lines, like lifelines on palms. Third, I will tell you to look at the leaves every day. Wait for the morning that they remind you of his eyes, look the next day when they are gone, and allow yourself to miss them. Fourth, I will ask you to watch old videos with your eyes closed, to listen to the child's voice give way to the man's, and know that you carried the loss of the first voice and you can carry the loss of the second. Fifth, I will tell you to touch the outside of the bus for luck like always. To feel the metal and the paint that was red when you were on your way home from school together and will be red in another 11 years' time. I will remind you to touch and touch and touch again the faces and the hands of every flower-clutching, grass-ripping, mud-smearing friend who left a piece of themselves behind so we can all be together in this. I will remind you to feel the softness of blankets when they are drawn up over your shoulders and to know who it was who brought us here. Together, I will promise to swear loudly with you. I will promise to meet your forehead with my collarbones, to echo you when you say it's not fair because it isn't fair. I will remind you to wear sunflowers pinned to your clothes. But first, I will remind you that there are red strings running all over this city, winding around this island, crossing the ocean to Montreal, looping circles around fingers and telling us by small tugs that this is not absence. This is presence. Every day, here in the in-betweens.
Herald the class clown, but someone funnier and profound was Ryan Briggs, but for other matters, his fear's the theme of classroom chatter. A phobia rather obscene, the boy was scared of polystyrene. How can one be so petrified of packaging? It's unjustified. Perhaps there was a childhood trauma. Yes, I think I'm getting warmer. Nightmares as a child of beasts, goblins, monsters, cyclops and ghoulish gremlins that knew what made Ryan wet the bed to unlock the demons in his head that sent him into frenzied screams. It's polystyrene. Ferocious bullies that owned the playground would wait for Ryan to cross their path. They'd pin him down and begin to laugh as they scratched the box and made a sound that drove the youngling into meltdown, chanting the words polystyrene to the 80s hit Come On Eileen. Christmases were something to behold. Despite his age he could not control his trepidation of unwrapping a thoughtful gift he would have to fling because it was sealed in the plastic that led him to becoming erratic. On his 8th birthday, a deal was made when Ryan was handed a brand new toy. He screeched and tossed it like a grenade, threw it back like a trusty ball boy, forced to dispose of his figurine because it was packaged in polystyrene. Perhaps my levity is quite cruel. I shouldn't have laughed, teased or ridiculed. Maybe it stemmed from an April Fool's gone tits up that he moved schools. The tormenting soon turned violent, nervous jittery he fell silent. He never attended his lessons, confined to his room the years grew old, but no one ever stood up and told Ryan's story. The truth never said. His tortured youth left him for dead. 19 suicide, drug overdose, schoolbook picture, forgotten by most. So when you next go to tell a lie, recall this ballad, this porky pie, that escalated in the demise of a boy with dreams like you and I. Could anyone have ever foreseen digging his own grave at 19? Ryan was never scared of polystyrene.
Never alone with friends like this. Shakes. Yet I'm half full, like the air in this cafe. My face like the ceiling. His altar cloth is English kind of grey. With a happy, sad, major, minor head. Friend and I drink. Go Bombay, go Gordon. Go settle the soul, go think. And stir a less than well-travelled bore. Washed up on a not too distant shore. Shakes. From my home to my entering to Berlin. A star post like mine should be buried like a fucking ostrich neck deep. You are full frontal, cutting through the sky, the flotsam, a jetsam, a Potsdam, opulent but true, and then your eyes go Eve Klein blue. Still never alone with friends like these. Shakes.